for Bible studies. So the question is how effective passing out brochures compared to online, taking that money and trying to reach people through the internet.
And just to answer back, what year was that you said?
2003.
So 2003, Glow didn't exist. There was another
there was
company.
some other track we were
Yeah, there was
passing out.
another track. The other company was... There's another company of tracks, yes. Glow is something that just came out this past, I think, 3 years maybe. 3-4 years. Okay, it's something fairly new that Glow Canada started. And what's nice is Jonathan Zita, who works in Ontario, he actually keeps a database of all the calls that come in and information. And so there have been actually many that have actually come through. But I understand there's nothing better than friendship evangelism, for example, inviting people you already know. There's nothing better than, interacting and with people rather than just giving. I agree. But I will say God uses, as even DJ shared the story on the bus. Somebody was going to commit suicide. God knew that person needed something to encourage them. And, please.
I think these little Glow pamphlets came out about 5 years ago in the United States. My brother-in-law, he gave me a packet about 5 years ago, and I've passed some out, and the Lord led me to. I do it in doctor's offices. You sit there waiting to see your doctor, and you can pick out. The Lord will tell you which one to. But I don't think they were in Canada as long as that. And so that's what's happening. And he said that in the States they're getting good response. So I don't know. He's a pastor, and so like you were saying, that it's a different pamphlet than before.
Yeah, these are relatively new.
Yeah.
And
different from what there used to be, yeah. Those other pamphlets were a different company. Very similar, but the content is very different. Glow has a very different content than the general,
Very dynamic, wonderful look, new.
Very. If you read them in comparison, and you can still, ABC still carries the others, but we have found Glow is for all generations. Even the young people really can reach them. Not just the pictures on them, but also it's just more youthful as well. Yeah, and a lot of the messages are very current. And some of our materials, of course, older materials aren't as current, unfortunately. But so that's why we've gone to Glow. Yeah, sorry.
Totally, and it's for people who are too afraid to talk, who just want to hand something and run away. That's okay. You're doing something. Do something. Yes.
So.
And you can go online as well with it. Yeah. Yeah. Read more. Totally.
Yes, it gives people an opportunity to go online. Yeah, which the others didn't necessarily do so. Yeah. And also we talked about this morning, also about sharing your story, okay? And so with the principles we shared yesterday, another aspect is sharing your experience, right? A time that God answered your prayers, a time that God was made real to your heart and life. Even if it's something little, people need to hear that, okay? And so that was what we shared this morning. It's something that you can write down, and it could be just a 1-minute witness, 1-minute sharing that you can do, okay? And that is another way just to simply share your testimony with somebody. Okay. And now we're going to go over Fort, and that will help answer some of these areas and how to simply respond to people in a way so that we can share our faith with others. Okay, and then we'll come back to this. So, DJ, would you share Fort with us?
All right, yeah. So sometimes meeting people, it's scary. Sometimes we think it's scary. We let our fear hold us back, paralyze us. We're just afraid to talk to new people. Well, what if they, but it's all just fears. And so there's an acronym that I follow, and that's called FORT. Very simple way to memorize these few keys to learning how to interact with people. Matthew 28, 18 to verse 20, I'm sure we're familiar with this. This is the Great Commission. Jesus says, and he spoke to them saying, all authority has been given to me in heaven and earth. Boy, it's got cut off. Yeah, all authority has been given to me in heaven and on earth. There, go for, make disciples of all the nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit. I'm trying to go by memory. And teaching them to observe all the things that I have commanded you, and lo, I am with you always, even unto the end. So Jesus is giving us the Great Commission. He's saying, go and do this. But sometimes, it's like, oh, Jesus told me to do this, right? Okay, I have to go and tell people about him. Sometimes we treat it like taking Buckley's, right? I'll do it, Lord, but I ain't going to like it. when it's actually fun. So how do we make disciples of people? What is the first thing you must do to make a disciple of someone? What's the first thing that you must do? Interactive time, feedback, throw it out. There are no wrong answers. Introduce them to Jesus. What we need to how do we make disciples? So introduce them to Jesus. What's the first thing we must do? Okay, we got to meet people. We got to meet them. So where do we meet people? Where do you meet people? On their level. Yeah, we meet them on their level. Where else are you meeting people? Everywhere. We meet them at work. We meet them on the bus. One of my favorite places to meet people is the grocery store. I love the grocery store. I'm in line, and something happens when I'm in line. I become community with these people. You just turn around, you can talk with the person beside you. But I like to see somebody in the grocery store and think, okay, how can I say something to this person here? Paul says in 1 Corinthians 9:22, he says, to the weak I become as the weak, that I might win the weak. I become all things to all men, that I might be all means, save some. So what is Paul saying here? Have you seen this verse before? What do you think Paul's trying to say here? Relate to people. Exactly. So when I'm in the store and I see somebody, I'm thinking, how can I relate to that person? It's really easy when somebody's wearing a jersey, right? And now, especially this time of year, right? Especially for the Oilers. Somebody's got an Oiler jersey on. What are you going to say to them? How about those Flames? No, you're going to say, what's that? Did you see the last game? That's all you need to say. They're just going to go off. Connor McDavid. People love to talk about certain things. So you relate to them. Okay, so this person has an Oilers jersey. Did you see the last game? Beautiful. I love it. So you connect with them. You find a common bond. So what kind of food that they have in their cart, their clothes, you're looking at their clothes, what kind of culture are they from, do they have any children, their hairstyle, anything in their cart.
And sometimes people will approach you, while you're in the grocery store. Oh, you have a child, this age, so what do you do? What do you recommend? Or I remember even checking out at Superstore. And this was just even last year. And I was checking out, and the cashier was like, "Oh, you're really into healthy foods." Like, yeah, I guess I've been vegetarian for a while. She goes, "Oh, I've been wanting to learn how to become vegetarian." I'm like, Well, I go, I got to connect you with the lady, Irma Hartley. I go, she goes to Red Deer Church. Oh, they do a lot of cooking. They're big into health. And, the Seventh-day Adventist churches especially. Oh, let me connect you. And so I gave the contact to Irma, to follow up on. And so what's nice is God will sometimes send them to you. Right? And then you say, okay, well, this is an open invitation. Let me just jump on it by God's grace and say, okay, now what do I do, Lord? And the great thing is the girl was open and interested in a young person.
Exactly. What did they have in their cart? Their hairstyle? Oh, I love your hair. What kind of gel do you use? That starts the conversation. But sometimes we feel like it's breaking down a fort. And this is the acronym that I use. Okay, so we're talking with somebody.
Can I share one more story? Sorry. This just happened just a few weeks ago, actually. I normally would have an appointment with my hairstylist, but she wasn't in, and it just kept happening. And I was impressed. Just go get your hair done, this now. So I'm like, okay, I'm just going to try to get an appointment. I get in. And I meet this girl, Jen. Even though I'd seen her many times in the salon, working on others, we began to talk. Well, she found out, yes, I was a pastor. We began to talk, and then all of a sudden she opened up right at the end after she'd blow-dried my hair. She goes, I went to my old church, which is in Calgary, because my kids are really interested in Bible studies and wanting to be baptized. I'm like, okay, and she said they wouldn't take them. They won't baptize them since I'm no longer a member there, and I used to be. And I'm like, what? And so she's from Sylvan Lake, and it was just so interesting. And so I began to share. I said, I've got to introduce you to Pastor Bill Spangler. He's great. He's, I don't know if you've seen the Seventh-day Adventist Church in Sylvan Lake. She goes, my mom and I have been there to funerals, and we've been so impressed. And actually, that pastor guy, Bill, that guy, my mom owns a bar in Sylvan Lake, she tells me. And I'm like, okay. And Pastor Spangler said, I might not come and have booze, any alcohol, because I don't drink, but I'm going to come into your bar and at least come in and say hello. And he did. Jen goes, and he actually showed up. And he did. And my mom thought, this is the coolest pastor. He actually came into my bar and sat down and talked with me. And she said, Sandra, yeah, I'm open.